we'll hand over to you, and we've got to about past.
Past, okay, brilliant. Can I have everybody unmuted, please? Now, you're all adults, you can all manage your sound. I'll take my glasses off so you can see me. So if you've got any noise in the background, obviously be sensible and mute it, but I need to feel your feedback. This is going to be a bit of fun. We're going to have a laugh here. It's stuff you've probably heard before, but I put it in a package that makes it light-hearted and what have you. So we're going to have a bit of fun, and I will share my screen if I can get my thing to start here. Right, so bear with me. Where's my slides? Here we go. Right, let's kick this off. First of all, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Now, obviously, men and women, I'm going to talk about, this is my pet subject. Are we different? Are we really different between the sexes? Now, you obviously, if you're living with somebody, you can probably tell that it may be different. I've got a wife and I've got kids, and my goodness me, she's completely different to me. But the key is here, can you get the sexes to work together? And that's what we'll talk about. But we'll look at things in a light-hearted way. I mean, look at this example here. This is a man and a woman, stereotypically. A man will stand in front of the mirror and he'll think he's one sit-up away from a six-pack, and he's only got no muscles at all. Whereas a woman will, 9 times out of 10, she's attractive, she's beautiful, but she'll pick faults with herself. This is the way that society seems to have shaped us, and we have this, and it's an amusing look at the differences between us both, and we'll touch on those as we go. Now, you've probably realized that men and women are not the same. You don't need me to tell you that, but understanding the differences and how we operate allows us to better work together, collaborate. And that is the key, because we each bring different strengths. We each can look at things in a different way, and that can give you more ideas generally to help you in your relationship, your business, or whatever it may be, move forward. So we'll keep going. Now, a friend of mine, his name is Matt Barrett, he did come up with this statement. He said, even though men and women share many similarities, we are certainly not the same. And even though we can look similar, we look similar on the outside, but we can have different effects. Now, I'm not going to say which is the man and the woman. You decide that, but most of us may agree on which side of the fence that'll be on. So even though we might look the same, we definitely operate in totally different ways. But there is a biological difference between our brains. There is. Let me explain. The female brain is actually more advanced than the male brain. It's developed far more connections between the left and right side of the hemispheres of the brain. That is a biological fact. Women are more advanced than a man. Sorry, guys. Sorry to break that news. Women obviously knew that all along, but hey, it is very true. And a lot of the compartments in the brain for a man are in distinct locations. Now, for instance, for a man, the speech element of our brain is in the front right part of our brain here. Whereas for a female, it is more evenly spaced across the hemispheres. And this happens in, it's seen very often in head trauma accidents. If a man or a woman are involved in a car accident and they have trauma to the front part of their head, a man will lose his speech if he gets impacted on the front side of the brain. A woman is unaffected because her speech part of the brain is more evenly spaced across the brain. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of this difference, because obviously we've commonly heard about women being able to multitask and men cannot. And that's mainly, there is some truth in there, although it's a bit of a joke, but there is some truth in the fact that the men's brain is compartmentalized. So you have a distinct area of the brain that actually performs certain functions. Whereas when you scan a female brain, it is more evenly spread across the brain. So there's a female brain is far more advanced than a man's. Now I'm going to show you some pictures here, some fun pictures comparing a man and women's brains. You may have seen these before, but I'll show them again just for a bit of fun. But there are some elements of truth here, even though they're meant to be a bit of a fun element. But female brain, you may have seen these before. There's a lot of chocolate here, if you notice. Now, obviously, Shannon mentioned chocolate, but chocolate is an important element to a lot of girls. My wife in particular loves chocolate all the time. She also loves her shopping. Now, one thing I do notice that women certainly have a factor is over to this left of the brain, the partner's bad actions recall zone. Now, I don't know if any of you can relate to this. Why is it that when I do something wrong, Julie, my wife, can recall it from several years ago? You remember when you did this to me? I'm like, I didn't remember what I did yesterday, but she can remember from years ago. It is crazy. Also, something I don't quite understand, and I've tried to work out all my life, or since I've been with Jules, is this mystery moods and behavior area. Oh, this is something us men want to grasp and understand, but I've tried many times. There's no hope. You women have got this element that we just can't discover. And also, there's this bit called the fine area. I will talk about that later. But as you can see, there's a lot of fun bits here. Gossip lobe, sex molecule. I won't talk about that one. But we have a bit of fun and we can see the differences. But here's the man's brain coming up. As you can see, girls, you may relate to this too. There's a big area. Well, I won't highlight that. There's also one which is really important, the lame excuses gland, as you can see that. Men are useless with excuses face to face with women. I'll explain why later, but it's true, women have far better skills close up than men do. We're rubbish. Women can tell from a mile away when men are lying. So when we come up with excuses, they know straight away, even though we're equipped to try and deal with it. Also, one I'm going to highlight is at the top of the brain, forgetting dates area. Oh my goodness me. Are we men bad at that? I can't see any man who's really good at remembering birthdays. Women seem to know the lot. Their brains are amazing. But anyway, it's just a bit of fun. We're obviously not true about this, but I like showing it. But I am going to touch about why we are different in the way we are. Then there is some history to this, mainly because of where we were developed in the historical chain. I mean, back in the prehistoric days, men were designed as hunter-gatherer. So we were equipped with the skills needed to actually do that. So we've got more ability in terms of spatial awareness, because a man had to understand if there's an antelope running in the distance, they have to be able to gauge how fast it's running. I've got a spear in my hand, how far back I need to pull my hand back in order to launch this spear so it hits the antelope to take it home. And men are supposed to have a better instinct in terms of navigation. Don't know why that is, but it is. But it seems to be maybe due to the fact that they're hunter-gatherers. So once they've traveled for miles looking for food, they obviously need to find their way back. And so their skills, they've been equipped, especially in the brain, to do all these spatial items that gives them this skill to look at things far away and gauge those. Now, they don't have the other skills that a woman possesses, because the woman is the birth giver to our species. A woman's amazing because she gives life to us, allows us to continue as a species. But a female has far more skills than a man does. And sometimes women attack men for not having the same skills as them. It's just because we just are not developed as you. We just don't have those skills. And one in particular is this skill close up. Because a female is predominantly the life giver, has to look after children and knows them, has had them in their womb, they can sense when a child who can't speak, can't communicate, but is crying or is upset, the woman seems to have this bond far greater than a man to understand that, oh, the baby needs changing or the baby needs feeding. Whereas a man is most of the time clueless to this. They just don't have those acute skills. Also, a female, while she's so good at telling if a man is lying, is because those skills are important to a female prehistoric times, because if someone was approaching the cave, they need to know very quickly, is this a friend or a foe? Can I trust this person? Can I check the body language in case they're aggressive? So that's why a man talking to a woman today, a woman can pick up all the little nuances, the little secret things that a man's trying to hide. She'll pick up. Well, I know what you're up to, matey. And so a woman, you can't be fooled when a man's close up, because she has all these extra skills that a man simply does not have. And it's no fault of a man. It's just a biological difference. Now, I am going to put a caveat here. The skills you can learn, it's like the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule. This covers 80% of people, not absolute carte blanche. There are some exceptions to the rule. You sitting in this audience, listening to me, may be that exception. But on the whole, that is what tends to happen. There's also another biological difference between men and women, and it's their eyes. Women have more whites of the eyes than a man does on average. And it's mainly due to this close proximity when you're communicating with somebody, because when you're close up, you need to see the eye movements to understand if someone's been shifty or not. So a woman has more whites of the eyes than a man. Also, a female has a greater periphery vision than a man. I'll show you this here. Here we have an eye, a man and a woman's eyes, and the man's eyes is sort of in that sort of sphere. Everything outside of this, I don't know if you can see me, outside of this gets a bit blurry. But a female has got a more wider span. And men often get teased by this because, you know, guys, I don't know if you can relate to this on this call, you can get accused by your partner at looking at other women. Occasionally you get caught. And it's because we have to move our heads when we're looking. It's true. You see a pretty girl sort of in your periphery, and biologically we look, but we turn our heads and we get caught and we get in trouble. But however, it's been proven that women actually leer at men more than men leer at women. Women are going, no, 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 no. Oh, it has. And I'll show you this now. What they did an experiment. They did an experiment in America, and they put these goggles on men and women to follow their eye movements, where the eyes were going. And they watched them on a beach. And the women were obviously seeing the men come past, and the men were watching the girls. And for the men were looking at the women, you can see the heat spots. Can you all see this picture? The heat spots of where they were looking. I haven't got the picture of when they turned around and the men were looking at the head, were looking at the back, the bottom, when the female walked past. But the women were also looking at the man, more so in the torso, which was really interesting. But when the man walked past, it was bum legs, bum legs, bum legs. And the women were doing it more than a man, because what would happen is the woman would be there and the guy would walk past and she'd go, oh, he's nice. But she didn't even move her head, which was a brilliant skill. Whereas the guys were obviously moving their heads. So that's a skill that women have that men don't have, in a funny sort of way. Here's another one of difference between men and women with map reading. Now, maps were written, I can't see the comments here actually, I'm seeing it flashing up, hang on. I want to see what comments people are putting up here, but I can't see them because my screen is full screen, which is annoying, but I'll see them in a minute. Map reading. Now, maps, it's like plans for houses as well. Maps and plans for houses are written by men for men, funnily enough, because a man can look at a map more so than a female and can look at it and go, oh yeah, that go up there, right, 2 rights, 2 lefts, oh yeah, I know where I'm going, and put it down. Because there's a bit of spatial awareness in a maps. And the same with a floor plan of a house. If you see a house, a man can see a floor plan and look at it and go, oh yeah, that room's up there, oh yeah, that one's over here, oh, you got the stairs here. For a female, mostly giving her a floor plan of a house is useless. A woman needs to see the house. If she's looking at buying it, she has to feel what the rooms will be like. What's it like to make it a nest effectively. She has to look around, make sure she's comfortable, make sure that it draws her in. Whereas a bloke just can look at a plan and work out what it looks like strategically, because these are the differences between the two. So when we have a sat nav via paper map, women all around the world celebrate. Yay! We don't have to watch these silly maps that are horrible. So sat nav does it all for you. So you just put it in, press the button, and it takes me where I want to go. A godsend. So between the two, technology has helped many women in the car, which is a wonderful thing. How we differ with driving. It's another fun area, but I'll touch on it. Some seriousness to this too. Simple driving facts. Women actually cause more minor road accidents than men do, but men cause more high-speed accidents. That's a fact. And men account for 70% of all road traffic deaths. That's horrible. That's 3 times more than females. That's a horrible statistic. And it's well, horrible. And obviously because of that, men's actual insurance is far higher than a female's. And this is an interesting fact. Most men enjoy driving because it's a spatial skill. And we seem to be inbuilt to enjoy it. Most men enjoy driving. Women drive, of course they do, but they can either leave it or like it or leave it. They just do it because it gives them benefit, because you can get to A and B. But if you had to choose, more often than not, women are not too fussed, whereas men will choose to drive. Hence why when you go somewhere and there's a couple, you find predominantly the man driving. Now, this isn't absolute, as I said before, but this is a trend that you can see throughout society. And as I said earlier, men on average drive faster, but this is an interesting fact. Women use mirrors less than men do. And I'll show a funny picture here. This is just a woman. I don't know how she did this, but thankfully she's safe. But men tease women for their driving. However, men are just as bad. I mean, I don't know what this guy is doing he's a crazy guy, but hey, idiots. Now touching on wing mirrors, girls, is not an accessory. It is actually there for a reason. But statistically, again, when you see men and women reversing, men do use the wing mirrors. They can see the image in the wing mirrors, and they can see the image behind. They can process it in their minds and see it reverse, and they can just drive backwards. Women, however, by and large, do not use those wing mirrors. They just turn their head and look over their shoulder to reverse. And see, when you're in the car driving next, see what you do. And I'd like to hear comments from people actually on here, but by and large, that is what happens. The wing mirrors are not used by women. They'll look at the mirror at the top to look who's behind, but they don't reverse using the wing mirrors, which is really interesting. So, I'm not concluding yet, but at the moment, so is one sex better than another? No, of course not. We've all got strengths and weaknesses, but by working together and bringing these strengths and weaknesses together, you actually complement one another. And it's statistically shown that when men and women work together, they have greater success. But I'll touch on that again. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in all this. Women are idiots sometimes. They're not absolutely the best. But on the whole, men tend to win this argument, right? We're worse than women. And I'll show you some quick examples. I mean, you can see this. I don't know what's happening here. Is this a baby throwing competition? I don't know. They lost a child, which isn't very safe. But what are these guys doing? I mean, are these idiots or what? They're blokes. What are they doing? I mean, a barbecue in a pool, that guy's smiling. He won't be smiling for long. I mean, look at this. It's absurd. These guys are idiots. But it's men again. Who fitted that? It's obviously a man. Look at it. Try and use that toilet seat. Not very good. A man has fitted it. So a man was an idiot.
I'll just work that out, yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yes, I'll go back. Look, can you see? You just spotted it. Oh dear.
Trying to work out what was wrong with it.
Trying to know what's right with it. Dear me. Yes, it's not ideal. You don't want to sit on that toilet.
No.
What's happening here?
Oh my gosh.
These guys are idiots, absolute idiots. What are they doing? But it's men again. Another one, health and safety gone wrong. What are they doing? Crazy. And what is this guy doing? Please,
Oh, brilliant.
please. This is true. These are guys being idiots. And I think if we had to compare the two, men mess up more than women do.
Yeah.
I was also asked this question. I thought, what gender are computers? Now we have an opinion on that. Are they men or are they female? Really? Okay. So what they did, they got some men together, women together, split them into groups for them to conclude what they thought men and women, what gender computers were. And this is what they came up with. Computers are female. That's what the men concluded. And these are their points. Number one, no one but their creator understands their logic. When computers speak to each other, they speak in code that only they and a few experts can understand. Number three, every mistake is stored in the hard drive for later retrieval. Very true. I have to stress that. As soon as you commit to one, you find you have to spend an awful amount of money accessorizing it. So as far as men were concerned, computers were in fact female. However, when women got together, they decided, no, computers are definitely male. And these were their reasons. Number one, firstly, to get a computer's attention, you have to turn them on like a man. Secondly, they have a lot of data, but still can't think for themselves. My wife often says that to me. Number three, they are supposed to help you solve the problems, but half the time they are the problem. And finally,
I love that one.
as soon as you commit to one, if you'd waited a little longer, you could have had a better model. Grossly unfair. But I'll leave up to you to decide whether men and women, whether computers are either a male or female. There's a bit of humour there. But you may notice there is language differences between the sexes too. This is very, very important. Men and women use words very, very differently. For instance, men use words to send information to somebody. I mean, I'll give you a typical example. If I'm ringing my friend before lockdown, I would say, hi, Bob, you going to the pub? Yeah, sure. When you going? Half an hour. Brilliant. Okay, bye. Boom. Phone down. Women use words to bond with another person. My wife does this a lot. I've not often noticed this. When she picks up the phone, she's talking for hours with a friend about this and that. And I've often asked her, I said, after she comes off the phone, what are you talking about? Oh, just stuff. Because women use words more than a man.
Yeah, it's true.
Very true. Because there's an indirect and direct speech as well, which I'll touch on in a minute. Because words are used for bonding. Women use words to build relationships, to get to know somebody. And this is very, very important. So a woman could be out with her friends all day, chat all day, and then come home and still chat some more because she's got words left. Because that is to build those relationships. A man doesn't need to do it as much. And women often accuse men of not opening up and not using words because generally we don't. It's something we need to learn, and we can learn. It's a skill that can be developed. But on the whole, men don't use many words compared to women. But women are far better at therapists, HR, the touchy-feely jobs, because they can feel what people feel. They have more empathy. They have more relationship skills, far more advanced than a man. So when a woman sometimes unfairly accuse a man for lacking these skills, it's because they just don't have them. They can be taught to a degree, but never in the same capacity as a female. But I will touch here on the use of direct and indirect speech. These are a few examples very, very quickly on certain situations. I mean, at work, for instance, men would often say, have you written the report? And it's, have you written the report? A woman's indirect speech will say, has the report been written? It's not as aggressive as a man. Or at home, a man will be more direct. Can you take the rubbish out? A female will say, oh, state of fact, the bins need emptying. And leave it for the listeners to work that out. Wanting something to eat, a man's more direct. I'm hungry. Whereas a woman would ask, when do you want to eat? But she's hungry. But the classic one in a car, which is really interesting, if I need to go for a pee, I'll say, I need to stop for a pee. But Julie would say, do you fancy coffee? I'm like, oh no, I'm all right. It's not me that I need to stop, but she wants to stop. But I've not picked that up. So it's the difference in speeches. And when you understand that, you have more harmony. And that's very, very important. But this is the magic word, fine. Girls on this call, you can relate to this word. You see, men, fine is a single word to us men. Women, it's got many meanings and connotations. I'll touch on why. See, if a man hears a female say, fine, they understand it. It's a clear word. It's English. It means okay, doesn't it? Doesn't it not? No. Girls are all shaking their head here. But when a woman uses the word with tone inflection, it has several other meanings. Loads of them. Goodness me. I have to study this. I mean, going out. This is a classic. This is a man and a female having a conversation. The man will say, I know it's last minute, but I'm going to the pub with my mates. Female's response with the word fine. Yes, it's fine to go to the pub. But secretly, that tone inclination was, whilst I'm here all alone, how could you be so inconsiderate? Yes, but you don't tell us. You just go, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. Tone inflection. Another one, forgotten birthday, which I touched on. Us men are bad at that. You don't realise it. Is everything okay? And the female will respond, yeah, I'm fine. You notice the tone inclination. How could you forget my birthday, you horrible man? But the fine inclination, I'm fine, don't want to tell us. And the classic question, which I love, is, tell me how you're feeling. What's wrong? If you don't know that, you'll never know. How are we supposed to work with that? Another one, awkward gift. This is a classic one. Men are terrible at buying for women. So the man will ask, what do you think? Do you like it? And the female will respond, yes, it's perfectly fine. But really, she'll exchange it in the morning. But she won't say, it's no good. Now, my father told me long ago, he said, son, when you get married, you can either be right or you can be happy. So just go with the flow. You want to be happy, just go with the flow. Understand women are different. Understand, and you'll be a lot happier. Very quickly, I want to wrap up. I realise I'm going over time here. True story, happened in Australia, radio station. There's a guy on the radio, and he'd heard of this couple that had been married 40 years, and never had a single argument. He thought, impossible. How could that possibly be the case? So he said, I've got to get them on my show. So he found them and they got on the show. And I can't remember their names. I think her name was Helen and his name was Steve. He said, Steve, Helen, wonderful. You've been married how long? And Helen said, 40 years. And the DJ said, and you've not argued once. How is that? Tell me the secret, Steve. And Steve said, well, when we got married, we agreed straight away that I, the man, will make all the major decisions in our relationship. And Helen will make all the minor decisions in our relationship. And it's worked well because 40 years, we haven't argued once. And the DJ was amazed. He went, wow, that's incredible. How is that? And Steve went on to add, he goes, well, I must find it rather strange, though. In 40 years of marriage, I've never had to make one major decision. So let the female lead when she has to, but understand that we are different. And the final words are here. There is a differences between men and women. Difference doesn't mean better or worse. Please understand that. It's just different. And men and women do complement each other in business and relationships, because you put us together, we bring our strengths and differences, and you think more out the box when you come together in the different sexes. And you actually have statistics that show that you do have more success when you combine the sexes. So my final words to you is combine, work together with the opposite sex, because you will get better results. Thank you.
Oh, Tony, that was brilliant. Thank you so much for that.